What's up, everybody? People ask a lot of questions about a lot of things, and I research as much as I can, and hopefully I can answer some of the questions or the issues or bring things to light. Yeah. The first one was, are we accepting asylum seekers from the United States? Well, I remember one of our CARICOM neighbors had said that we had all signed on, CARICOM had signed on, but Kerry had bunged in a whole of no, it ain't that way. I think he had said, they're going around the Caribbean, and I would like to think that we will not be left out. They have not reached out to us yet, so we will just wait and see. But then he followed up with, it is not something we are looking forward to. But we make up your mind. You want them, you don't want them, we bringing them, we letting them in, what? Like, we would like to know, it would be nice to know, you know. The next question was about Chinese frame houses that do good had flying in port after Hurricane Elsa. You all remember that? He said it was urgent to replace the houses that people had lost, and local artisans couldn't get them built in time. Now, my understanding of the word urgent is like right now, right? But them things take years to build because nobody didn't know how to build them, and like they couldn't read the instructions. They had to bring in people to do it. The original price was $23.64 million, but there were significant cost overruns, and the thing ended up costing $52.72 million. That's more than double, right? So I brought down the individual price of 150 units costing $52.72 million. Well, listen, right? Each of those units cost $351,466.66. Merciful Father. You got any idea how nice a house local artisans could have built for $351,466.66? And then on top of that, I saw a video here the other day with a bunch of the steel frames skinned out on the ground, sitting down up in 6 rows, scattered all about on a lot, covered in weeds in the midst of a mob of ton of containers. Wanna write, man. Say how much wanna help in poor people to find homes and then pelt ready mind like it belongs to y'all. Wastage, thieving, or incompetence. You could pick. Yeah? The transition to a republic was done without a promised public referendum. Even though a 2005 law was passed specifically to facilitate a referendum, the transition to a republic was ultimately achieved through a parliamentary vote in 2021 without public voting. And this segment here at the bottom is amazing. The government argued at the time that because they held a massive majority, 29-1, following the 2018 election, that the parliamentary vote represented the will of the people. What? Arrogance personified. Now, I had no problem going to Republic. I agree we should have gone to Republic. But to go a right way to do things and a wrong way to do things. But this is just another example of what Turkey Love will do because it can. I see the year already we have a couple murders, and I feel obligated to remind you all about the peace program that the Barbados government entered into with gang leaders in Barbados in 2023-24. Apparently, the government promised financial assistance, training, and 4% allocation of government projects. 20 months later, the members of these groups turned up at the media claiming that the promised funds and jobs did not materialize. As you can see here in red, the program has been associated with a budget of approximately $7.5 million, though some officials have clarified that much of its work is consultative and collaborative rather than direct government funding. So, exactly what happened with the $7.5 million? Some money went to the gangs, some went to the consultants, some get teeth. This is so convoluted that it's hard to figure out. But anyhow, Guy Smiley acknowledged that mistakes were made in the government's controversial National Peace Program, revealing that public funds were allocated to a crime prevention project in which a few of the persons were still involved in criminal activity. Well, Jesus take the wheel. Now I come to 2 events that the government foisted upon the children of our country for which I personally will never forgive them. Straight up. The government changed the constitution to bring in Kim McConney and put her in the Ministry of Innovation, Science and Smart Technology, which resulted in approximately 500,000 chip-based ID cards being discarded for a loss of about $4 million. She then got moved and became Minister of Education, allowing Barbados to make international headlines in 2022 when students at secondary schools were given a controversial and invasive pretest that parents and officials described as insidious because it was. Parents expressed outrage that children were asked about their sexuality, gender, identity, substance abuse, and personal parental information. Yeah. The Ministry of Education initially stated that the test was part of a survey funded by the Inter-American Development Bank. However, the University of the West Indies later confirmed that the survey had not passed through its ethics review committee. Minister McConney confirmed that the survey was suspended and all data collected was seized and placed in a secure vault under government control. I would like to know where that data is right now. I'm telling you all, right, there is a dark agenda afoot somewhere, and obfuscation is a part of the day. But you think that was enough? No. She later outdid herself in October 2023 when she oversaw a terrorist attack on the students of Springer School. It wasn't nothing else than that. Don't let me nice it up. It was a terrorist attack, right? Listen, I lose my temper when I talk about this. Students were bruised, trampled during the chaos, suffered from asthma attacks, panic attacks, fainting spells, seizures, and a large number of the 900 students were traumatized, with many seen leaving the compound in tears. And the Prime Minister did not fire her. You feel they would have tried that shite at Queen's College or Harrison College though? Boy, the amount of lawsuits that would have get dropped in them would have wrecked the government, yeah? A couple more recent issues on education that concern me. Chad Blackman, who I see him when he first came out and thing, right? I like Chad. And he sang a real good song at the conference that we play at. He sang Vice Versa Love and Kill Off the Players. But anyhow, he was going to send out letters to the parents letting them know how much education was costing the government. And he confirmed that the ministry was moving ahead with a comprehensive tracker for every child enrolled in the public system. I don't know what this tracker is, but anyhow, he said we have been discussing a profile card for every single child in Barbados that will stay with you from primary school all the way up until secondary school, so that we can track your social emotional development. Now this part here, right? We can track your academic development and we can track your technical skills and also your interests, so that when you leave school, we have a full picture of who you are. But one want to get very far up in people's business though, like, this the Ministry of Education or this the Gestapo? Anyhow, a little while back, the Minister of Transport and Works announced that the government was getting ready to divest itself of the Transport Board. But this was the part that really caught me though. Among the proposals are the transferring of ownership of the 121 BYD electric buses to former employees of the board, with priority being given to the drivers, other staff, and employees of the Transport Authority, and thereafter the general public. Now that sounds all fine and lovely on the surface, right? But they bring in 35 buses at 21 million. So when you divide 21 million by 35, them buses cost $771,428.57. But that should be no problem at all for the bus drivers or anybody at the transport board to invest in. But 30 Love will do whatever it wants to do. And before I forget, somebody had asked me the issue with the wiretapping bill as it would catch criminals, right? And I said, well, we all want to catch the criminals, but the real issue was that they tried to pass the bill without the authorization of a judge, right? A warrant from a judge. So the screen shows here, following the public uproar, the government announced it will remove the controversial warrantless wiretapping clauses from the legislation. The controversy was fueled by existing distrust and past allegations of unauthorized or illegal wiretapping by authorities. But then we found out that it weren't just allegations, because the Attorney General and other officials subsequently indicated that wiretapping was already being conducted by law enforcement, and that the new Intersection of Communications Bill was partly aimed at regulating this existing practice. So you see, them was already doing it. And to be honest, I would not be in the least bit shocked to find out that them was all up in my phone and reading my WhatsApp and my email and seeing my photographs. So then, I hope they enjoy the dick pics. And now we come to the election itself. And Prime Minister Motley has stated that her ministerial team has matured and needs more time to allow the country to fully benefit from their experience and the work started since 2018. We all need more time for? You had 5 years and then you cut it down to 3.5 to call a snap election in COVID and disenfranchise thousands of people. You get another 5 years and now you cut it short by another year. So we all need more time for? I don't figure that out at all. You cut it short yourself. Anyhow, you know what I mean? Power. Power is the real prize. Yeah. The BLP manifesto came out, and no, I don't want to see it, because after the amount of broken promises from the last two, I don't want to do it at all. A promise is a comfort to a fool. However, I did see these three here. Look, pleasing everybody by increasing the income tax threshold, borrowed from the Jamaica Labour Party. Pleasing the old people by increasing taxable allowance for pensioners, also borrowed from the Jamaica Labour Party. And then came up with the Barbados Republic Child Wealth Fund for children born on or after Republic Day 2021, tying everything to the legacy that must be remembered, and once again borrowed from the Jamaica Labour Party. And that $5,000 will only be worth about $3,500 when the time comes to disburse, which will be in 2039. The last one here, though, is the one that really got me, right? When you could stoop so low to try to bribe the churches and faith-based organizations with $5 million annually, then you have definitely reached the bottom of the barrel. You can see that contrary to what a lot of people think, this is not going to be no more 30 love wipeout, because people have realized that this government has done a lot of shite. And another 30 love would be a tragedy of epic proportions for our country. Now the real elephant in the room is these people here. Yep. The ones who have more influence on the political outcome than anybody else. Yes, the business class in Barbados is known to provide significant, often undisclosed funding to political parties, with studies indicating a high concentration of campaign financing coming from a few individuals and firms, particularly during election periods. Because political party financing is largely unregulated in Barbados, these financial contributions are typically shrouded in secrecy. And here at the bottom, there is no legal requirement in Barbados for political parties to disclose their donors, or in many cases their expenditures, creating a regulatory vacuum. So this is where the money comes from for the Buffalo posters and the fets, the big fets, and the stage and lighting, and paying all the artists and for all the jingles, buying people's support who they know have influence, right? So this is where the money coming from. You feel the money come from taxpayers? I hope not. But it might come out from the billions of dollars that the Auditor General can find. You see, that volume of money gives an unfair advantage over any party in terms of visible public perception. And more often than not, it drowns out policies and ideas that could redound to the benefit of our country. So this is where the election gets turned upside down on its head, you see? Because now you can't even believe if it's a truly genuine outcome of what people really wanted. Especially when you factor in vote buying, which people say is hard to prove. Hard to prove what? You all don't remember when the person get caught taking a picture of their vote so they could throw the constituent representative? The word on the street right now is that a vote is $500. Now, without a doubt, the most interesting telephone calls and messages that I received since my last post were along the lines of, John, we understand what you're saying, but what are the alternatives? And my immediate thought was, I am stunned by how easily a long, well-run public relations campaign could influence intelligent, rational people into forming a perception that one person has gained the stature of the second coming of Jesus Christ. Amazing. If it was a big if the government were to change, right? The incoming government would do just like how every other incoming government has done. And they would take advice from the permanent secretaries who understand the way that every ministry is run, and they would do that until each minister had settled in and found their own path and methods to make a positive impact on their ministries, the constituencies, and the country. What do you think happened when the BLP came back into power? How many people you feel that rode in on the Prime Minister's coattails had a clue about what they were going to be doing? And for those of you who said they would never vote for a party that had any of the old DLP, well, the BLP now has two of the most vilified of them in their ranks. One of them running for a seat, and another one working behind the scenes as a strategic advisor. Looky here, look. Chris Sinclair. He who oversaw about 160 downgrades. So don't be hypocrites, right? Listen, any party coming into power would do exactly what the BLP did when they came in and found a financial mess. They hired White Oaks, paid them $54 million, which according to my economic friends, was $50 million too much, right? Then they hired consultants to sort out things in various areas. It was not a magic trick performed by one almighty person, so there's no reason for anybody to think that any government coming in would do differently. They would bring in people who care about the country, who know about all the various issues that need to be worked out, and they will fix them. Nothing is insurmountable, but we have been led to believe that only one person and one person only can get this done. That's bullshit. There's a fallacy. When you see corruption being rewarded and honesty becoming a self-sacrifice, you may know that your society is doomed. Well, the corruption is now too blatant to ignore. The spiraling cost of living is too much to bear. The repeated attempts at infringing upon our rights and our freedom of speech is a dangerous path for us to be walking on. And the proximity of criminal elements to members of the government is far too close for comfort. The murders continue unabated, and we seem to have become numb to the frequency of violent death. Do you know that the man in Carter's Gap that got shot here recently, that he dived in front of children to stop them from getting hit while his body was riddled with bullets, leaving 2 traumatized children for the rest of their life, plus a little boy that was opening his door at the same time and witnessed the whole event, and who his mother says will not even think about going to school, don't want to leave the house. Is this the Barbados that y'all want to be living in? Because if y'all cannot see that we're on a slippery slope, then y'all need to wake up.